Championships. You're live with BBC News. Let's return now to our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, who's in southern Israel for us. Lise.
Yes, and ever since this crisis erupted, there's been a chorus of voices from the United Nations, its many charities, as well as charities the world over, many of them working now or struggling to work in the Gaza Strip, calling for a humanitarian ceasefire, warning of the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding under intense Israeli bombardment. Well, we're going to speak now to a woman whose job it is to try to address this crisis. Lynn Hastings is the United Nations Assistant Secretary General, just appointed as the humanitarian coordinator for the occupied territory. Lynn Hastings, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, the convoys have started moving through the Rafah crossing from Egypt into Gaza, a third today. How significant is the aid coming in now?
It's a good start, but that's exactly what it is. It's a start. So a total of about 50 trucks, assuming the 20 that are supposed to go in today do go through. So a number of other things are needed. First of all, we're getting in water, medicine, and food, all of which are absolutely critical. But what we're not getting in right now is fuel. And fuel is critical for the entire humanitarian operation to actually function. It not only ensures hospitals can run, that water is desalinated, and most of the water available to people in Gaza needs to be salinated before you can drink it. And then thirdly, once we get those goods inside from those trucks, we need to deliver them throughout Gaza. So we obviously need fuel for the trucks to reach their destinations.
Israel, as you know, has made fuel a red line. It doesn't want it coming in, worrying that it will be diverted by Hamas. Do you see any glimmer of hope in the negotiations, which must be intensive, to try to find a way to make it possible to get fuel in?
Yeah. So we have been working here in Gaza and bringing in risky items. Fuel is one of them for obvious reasons. If it's diverted, it can be used for other purposes. We at the United Nations have worked with the Israelis, as I say, for over a decade in bringing in fuel and other items. And I'm confident that we will be able to find a way to bring it in securely. There are already pumps inside of Gaza that we could bring fuel into, and the UN could access securely in order to ensure that the fuel is used for what it's intended.
But it sounds like there isn't much time. The hospitals which are running on generators say it's a matter of days before they simply won't be able to function. How fast is your clock ticking?
What you've said is just about right. We have a couple of days left of fuel, and that's operating at a very, very low level. So we will need to see a deal over the next couple of days. Absolutely. The government of Israel is very well aware of this. We all know what is needed for a humanitarian operation inside of Gaza.
Many of our viewers ask us, why is it taking so long to get the trucks through? What is the process that seems to be making it much, much slower than usual? Of course, these are not usual times.
No, exactly. So new mechanisms are being put in place, verification mechanisms, they're called. The one that is currently being used is that goods will be driven from a place on the coast in Egypt down towards another location on the border between Egypt and Israel, where Israel will inspect the goods, and then they will be driven back up to this border crossing in the south of Gaza called Rafah, and then they will be taken in. So just the round trip probably takes around 5.5 hours. Then there's the inspections. What we really need is an operation that's at least dawn to dusk. In terms of safety, we don't like staff to be working at night, but we need the trucks to be going through on a rotating basis throughout the day.
The Israelis have mentioned a number of times that there's an area called Al-Mawasi in the south that should be the zone where Gazans should flee to, and they will get international aid there. But we've heard very little from the UN or other aid agencies about it. Is that where Gazans are going to expect to find the safety and protection and the aid so many have not got up until now?
Yeah, the United Nations intends to provide assistance where it is needed, where the people are. We won't be confining the deliveries to one location. We don't want humanitarian aid to be used as a draw to relocate people. We should be providing assistance to where people are. And that's our intention right now. And as I say, that's also why we need fuel to be able to drive throughout Gaza.
Very briefly, are you hopeful that a way can be found to keep Gazans safe and to get life-saving aid?
I am hopeful, but it will not be without its challenges. I've been listening to some of your previous stories. You've heard what the challenges are: bombardment, lack of assistance going in, the inability to move, the requirement to move. There's all of these issues. We're concerned about hygiene, outbreak of various waterborne diseases and those sorts of things. So yes, I'm hopeful, but it will take a collective effort to be able to defer what we're seeing unfolding right now.
Lynn Hastings, good luck with your very challenging job. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to our viewers for staying with us as we continue our special coverage of the Israel-Gaza war. I'm Lise Doucette saying goodbye from southern Israel.